Hello, everyone, and welcome to Digital Transformations, where we explore the bits and bytes to elevate your business. Have you ever struggled with what to put in your email newsletter? Not just a bunch of words and maybe some sales and that kind of thing, but ways to really connect with your audience and the people who love what you do? Well, stay tuned because in this episode, we're going to give you some key ingredients that your customers are going to love. So let's dig in.
We're back. I'm Andrew, and this is Kara, and we're Blue Ascension. And as Kara noted, we're talking about key ingredients to email. We minute ago we were talking a little bit about that email fits in with the three digital components of our long-term strategy of marketing, websites,
Mhm.
social, and email. And this is going to be a lot of fun today. How you doing
Yeah.
today, Kara?
Can't wait to dig in. I'm doing well, Andrew. I love this
All right.
topic, by the way.
All right. All right. Well, tell us a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, so we're going to dig into several ingredients. I call them ingredients to create a really juicy email newsletter. So, really taking that from just a bunch of words that don't really resonate with your audience and people who love what you're doing, but ways that really are going to connect with people. It's people to people, and give you some kind of secrets to what kind of content is going to really resonate with your readers, and you can mix and match these. You don't by any stretch have to use every one of these in every email newsletter, but just kind of mix and match and see what kind of flavor that you want to create.
Yeah, and well, as we're getting more into these, we kind of talk about what we're going to get out of it, and like Cara, we're going to talk about the ingredients and how to mix and match and the components
Mhm.
like a little puzzle and put those in. But on the other side, the risk of not doing some of these or risk of putting energy and time into something that you may not you may want some outcomes, but you're not putting some time into thinking about the long-term strategy of your energy of that email list and
Mhm.
that thing that you're building. So, that risk could be you're sending these out and people hopefully not are opening them, but if they're not opening them or they're opening them and just deleting right away, or they're not even they just scroll
Yeah.
through, or over time they kind of know what to expect and maybe they unsubscribe, or um, another thing is maybe they don't unsubscribe but they don't really read it, and how do we check those
Mhm.
metrics? But the risk is that you maybe have a boring newsletter, or again, you lose readers that originally are interested in your story and your ideas. So
Mhm. Yeah.
we're on a lot of email chains, and maybe we can think about as we're going through these. We've talked about it before of some of the good and bads of the things that we've seen from email newsletters that
Mhm.
we're on as well. So
Yeah.
uh,
And
these
and
are
that
the
yeah, and that's a really good point, Andrew, for when everybody's watching that, and let us know where you're from and what part of this resonates most with you in the comments later on. But also think about the emails that you subscribe to now and which ones you really look forward to, because that's our goal, is to have your business newsletter be that one that drops in somebody's mailbox and they go, "Oh, I can't wait to read that." It's a juicy, like a juicy news story, or a binge watching some your best show, something like that. So that's what our goal is with this. Exactly. Well put, Andrew.
right. So here's kind of our overview, right?
Mhm.
This
Yes.
is our this is our roadmap, and like I said, the ingredients today, and let's dive in. So what's our first one that we're
Uh-huh.
really is probably one of the most
Super,
important
yeah,
ones?
super important. It's the hook. And really that to begin with the subject line. I mean, it's so easy to overlook the subject line, and we've all gotten newsletters that say Acme Business Newsletter, and that just doesn't entice you to open. So we want to really reel in your audience with a great subject line. Yeah, just look at some of them that you get and which ones really make you want to open that up. So subject line is super important. And then if you have a little preview, what what's going to be inside that newsletter, and that's going to really draw people in and help them read it. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
and you talk about the preview. Some of the mail systems have a little snippet
Mhm.
preview that you can add those in there. That's a good point there, Cara. That really that secondary subject line to make them. Here's maybe what we're going to tell you after the hook. And I
Mhm.
would have to say I think this is one of the arts, especially reading emails. Um, really what makes you open these things and make you want to kind of have fun with them. I had to expand this out just
Mhm.
because the cat's so cool.
The cat
Um,
is so cool.
but yeah, so that hook and how many, if you scroll through your promotions tab or your newsletter tab, like really look at the subject lines and really see
Mhm.
which ones do you resonate with and which ones want to make you open those up.
Mhm.
And one of the things I think is really interesting, and I just thought about this right now, Car, is what do you think about of using emojis in your subject line?
I think it can work really well. If it's not overdone and it's relevant, it definitely grabs your attention, and it really grabs your attention. So I think there's always that line of spammy, salesy, whatever. But we've definitely used some emojis and subject lines, and I think it definitely helps. So yeah, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen too many spammy emoji. I don't think I've seen those too
Yeah.
often, but I do think you noted about the context of um, how those can really make you pop in, especially if there's context and there's fun
Mhm.
context within the emojis. I
Yeah.
think that could really be a nice addition to your subject line.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. Yeah.
so that's our first one, right?
Yeah, and
What's
something
next?
related to that though, that I just thought about is related to the subject line. So your subject line draws them in, they open the newsletter, and then whatever's the first content that they see off the top, top of the fold is the old advertising term. What they see first is really going to help them draw through that. So something we like to do in every newsletter is put like a mini table of contents, like a nice warm intro to this newsletter. We'll get into how to format that a little later, but also like in this issue or read on for or dot dot dot, and just let people know what they're going to be reading, so they're intrigued and they're like, oh, I want to read that story and keep reading on. So that's part of the hook.
Yeah, and you it's kind of like a web page with those anchor tags and
Yeah.
gives you an opportunity to go forth. And I know one of the clients we work with, they have a pretty nice newsletter, a pretty long one, but it has some length to it, but it really is broken out well in the beginning. And I
Mhm.
every month I always joke around, Cara is our master writer, but a lot of times with clients that we have over and over, I like to wait till the newsletter's out to really read the bulk of it because it's so fun to read
I love
good
that.
newsletters, right? But but we talk about like when you go to the top and you're like, okay, here's what I'm going to get, and a lot of times you may scroll down and then maybe scroll back up, and that's really
Mhm.
what a true
Yeah.
good newsletter does. So
Yeah, exactly.
let's what's next on the
Next one is the story. And in here, we're going to talk about every newsletter, tell a personal story. And really, this is going to, and we try to weave this in like the first or second section of a newsletter to really, connect with our readers, human to human. That's the whole point of doing newsletter. As Anne Handley says, it's more about the letter and less about the news. So we want to use that human connection. And some personal story. So we have one client, it's a boutique lodging and wedding venue, and they share like past travels and but it relates somehow to their business, or they just shared a really charming story about Aunt Mary in Ireland and how that connected to their business or something that they're working through, that kind of thing. So it doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be, it can be poignant, doesn't have to be hard and serious. It could just be a fun little story. But the goal here is like, hello, my name is, and let your readers know something about you as a business owner, as a human being, and help them connect that way. Any favorites, Andrew, or thoughts on that?
Yeah, and so you know, just recently we did a one on the 5 C's of storytelling, and I think
Hmm.
there's a lot to that. These might be a little shorter, and really that's maybe some key components to storytelling short as well. But definitely, I think more and more we're looking for businesses and opportunities to be part of authentic experiences and authentic
Hmm.
stories.
Yeah.
And really, this is the place each month to have some authentic things of what's going on that you're okay sharing, of course.
Hmm.
But that, people are really are looking for authentic experiences, and getting to know businesses and people behind the businesses. And it doesn't have to be the owners. It doesn't have to be
Right.
the
Hmm.
managers. It could be stories of something that happened inside, or yeah, unique, fun experiences that do
Hmm.
maybe happen that month during the
Right.
an event or something. But it's really about getting a little bit deeper of a connection to build that trust, which
Hmm.
ultimately then is going to
Yeah.
lead to some of the other things we talk about in here. But those your business, of course, and selling and
Hmm.
sharing your other value propositions that you're giving to you know um, provide for them. And so this is kind of that trust building stage, right? Would you say?
It is. Uh-huh. It is absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All
And
right. So we're
and yeah, and don't be afraid to have fun with these too. It can be a fun story. It can be, yeah. Introduce that same client actually has this beautiful dog, and she often gets part of the story. So why not?
Oh yeah, I was gonna add one other thing here is that um, I think the businesses that I personally am resonating with most, and maybe go out more often, especially restaurants and
Hmm.
wineries, or even shopping or things like that, are people where you get to know a little bit more about those stories. And um, I think, even in a digital marketing perspective, I think some of the people that maybe we have the, heart, originally, how do you sync with their story when they don't necessarily have their story kind of formulated from the beginning? And that's where,
Hmm.
um, you know, every business has a story where it came from, and that's maybe where
Right.
up front,
Hmm.
you know, we're talking about this as from a strategy perspective, is that how do you formulate what stories and your background of your business and your branding that you really want to share and tell? And that's really kind of a upfront strategy that I think that's important as you start to develop
Hmm.
your businesses, to think about that ahead of time. So this is a really nice component to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm. Yeah. Good point.
all right. Well,
Good point.
what's after story?
Context.
Okay.
Context. And my little in my brain, my phrase with that is, "What day is it?" And as an example, so we talk about tying your content to the lives of your readers, and that's to make sure that your content is not tone deaf to what's going on in the world or your industry or your neighborhood or your region, that kind of thing. And it's also to give it relevance in their daily life. Like, for example, I get one from a health provider, and this is really interesting. Um, I have two health providers in this area, different businesses, different all the different things, but they subscribe to the same email content provider, so I get the exact same email from them every month on the same day. It's absolutely canned. There's no relevance to anything. Like with COVID, it didn't say anything about how to come to our office and how we're dealing with this. And it was just this tone deaf, kind of interesting health information. But that's why I want to say, like, what day is it, and how are we tying this content to what's happening in the world and with our readers' lives? So, yeah, what do you think about that, Andrew?
Yeah, and that on a similar one, and I think it might be the same email provider. And I think that's interesting, even um when you go to those places and they might be remodeling and they have new procedures and they have new offers there, and that when you go visit them, those chiropractor or
Mhm,
health providers or whatever, and then you see their newsletter and you're like, nobody's talking about these great new things that are happening at the business. And
mhm,
I think those content based articles can have some value if they're a little bit in context as well. But I think that if you don't have some of these other sections, it definitely provides less reason for you to open it every month. And how many people are
yes,
really opening a
mhm,
health-based one to read an article on some generic topic, right? And so
yes, yes,
mm, if it's in context, the topic as well is in context of maybe something that's going on, or a new procedure or a new class or a new event that's happening. I think that
mhm,
could be really cool, right? And so I think the context is really important. And there's so many
mhm,
opportunities, especially with this, along with some of those other things that we're going to go over in a little bit.
mhm. Yeah, good point, good point. Next up is special content. We use the word special because this is content. We want to make subscribing to your awesome newsletter something really special, and providing information like this excited little person, like, wow, look at that. Like, they only get that content in the newsletter. They don't get it on social, they don't get it on the website. So make it really special, like some little, remember this, Andrew, maybe cereal boxes when we were kids, and the prize inside, it's like, oh, what's it going to be? And you couldn't wait to dig down, and you never ate all the cereal, you just reached in and grabbed the prize, but that's another story. But share some things in the newsletter that your readers can only get there, and they know that, and that's going to help them really be engaged with opening and reading your newsletter as well.
Exactly, those special things. It reminds me of Christmas Story and the top secret decoder ring
Yes.
that he
Yes.
got, that was, and then the secret message after he decoded the whole thing was drink more Ovaltine. Like, all right, so hopefully the
Yeah.
special message is a little more than drink more Ovaltine, but that, as Cara said, that really, those really fun, unique things, I think, definitely provide um, a lot of flavor and a lot of unique things that maybe people look forward to. And that's
Mhm.
one of the biggest things that we especially, we do emails for companies as well. And one of the biggest compliments and also really nice things to hear is that when that company's readers and their people get back to the owners and the business and say,
Yeah.
we look forward to your email every month, and how do we get our friends to sign up for this, and how do we get our friends
Yeah.
to do that?
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's a wonderful feeling for us, but it's also a great feeling for the business, as well as that those people then connect with the business, and then they say, oh, also more things on later on, is that we also remember why we love this place, or this love
Yeah.
this service or whatever, and we're gonna, can we buy more? Or maybe that's where it leads to these
Mhm.
other things in the news mail. So it's
Right.
another a really nice um, lead in, and also a unique way of how to get people to subscribe and get people on your email list. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point, Andrew. And that referral that's golden. It really is. It's like referring your best friend to your favorite whatever store in town, brick and mortar, but the same thing with a newsletter. Yeah, you can definitely refer people, and and they want to share the goodness that they read. So that's so fun.
Okay.
So
So
fun.
not in order so far. We've talked about the hook and getting
Hmm.
in there,
Hmm.
and we've talked about the story and
Personal story. Hmm.
building in that personal touch, the context of what's going on and what's happening, and there's some other stuff, but context of, of your business and things that are going on in the
Uh-huh.
world.
Right.
And then we talked about special content. We just talked about those fun little things that are in, um,
Hmm.
that your readers may get tidbits from
Right.
the newsletter. And what's next?
Yeah. And one more thing about special content. It's really it can be very valuable to provide sales and specials and that kind of thing in your newsletter as one piece, not the whole thing. So just keep that in mind as well, because yeah,
Yeah, and I would add to that that there are times of the year where you may have special
for
sales
sure.
or things where you have a sales newsletter or Black Friday type things,
Hmm.
or times of the year where you have certain things going on. We're not saying that, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
a lot of times every newsletter, sometimes you get, eventually, if you just see, here's what's going on, here's what to buy, here's what to buy, here's what to put, eventually you're
Right.
like, okay, I'll save that, and then you don't really have a reason for opening or reading. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
all right, so what's
Good
next?
point. What's next is what's happening.
All right,
What's
what's happening?
happening? And this is kind of related to personal story and kind of related to context, but this is really taking a peek inside what the behind the scenes of your business. So one of our clients, again, the luxury lodging, they have this beautiful multi-acre estate, and as you can imagine, keeping the grounds and the landscaping is an annual job that just never ends. So some fun things we've done with them are meeting their their vineyard manager. They actually have a little tiny vineyard, and meeting him and doing a little post about him, and what they're doing to update their rooms, or if it's a winery, like what you're in the middle of harvest, what's that look like, and what does that feel like if you're doing that 20 hours a day, and that kind of stuff. So it's really giving your readers and your fans a look at what it's like there. Or say you're a car repair facility, and you just got in this awesome new tool that's going to make diagnosing your car easier, more effective, whatever. It's going to make your life easier, that kind of thing. So just personalizing the things you do every day that people don't know. And I think they'll find that really interesting.
Yeah. And one of the things, it reminds me, one of the people we worked with on, they sold exercise equipment, and it was really
Mhm.
interesting to think about some of the recent trends in problems with equipment. And I thought that
Mhm.
was really interesting that they started kind of messaging that, and like Cara said, that could become a feature of, hey,
Yeah.
here's some
Mhm.
common issues on these type of things, and here's some things that you can do right away to fix these things. And it provides trust and value, and also behind the scenes of, hey, this is a value that adds
Mhm.
value, this is information that adds value to the products that we're buying,
Right.
or something like
Right.
that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely, that's not exactly this whole section, but I definitely love the what's happening,
Mhm.
and behind the scenes. Another example is a restaurant, um, um, they're make some really unique, fun um, recipes. And we did a film of the owner
Mhm.
doing um, a cooking session, and to teach. That's actually
Since
that's
train.
there's a train coming by. Um, we talked about interesting noises that happen in our streams, and that's one of them. We add that on purpose. There's actually a little special. Um,
Audio clip.
I push a little button on there, and it makes a horn. But that they did a really nice recipe example, and fun explains of how they do that for it. Of
Mhm.
course,
Yeah.
they're not making of every bit of the sauce and but they're
Right.
showing how
Right.
they put the time and energy and love into creating something for you, and it just makes you want to go eat
Yeah.
their special of the week. So that was a kind
Mhm.
of a fun example of behind the scenes. Of course, that
That's great.
why do we go to restaurants and other places? Because these are people that are taking their time and effort to make amazing things for us to eat and drink and
Mhm.
do and things like that. So
Yeah,
I think this is
exactly.
a fun
Yeah, one
example.
more on that is your team. Like, introduce your team. You know, who's what's Sally doing this month at the business? Or we have this new employee. We just did a new newsletter for a client, and they have a brand new employee, and we did a profile on her, and just people loved reading about her. And she actually is quite known in the area, and people were like, "Oh, we love her. That was awesome." So yeah, don't be afraid to really showcase your team as well.
Yeah. All right. All right. So what's happening? All right. What's
Yeah.
next?
What's next is useful tips. Useful tips, otherwise known as news your readers can use. So the way I think
Mm,
about this, my example yesterday when we were talking about this was you go to Waukegan, Illinois, and you're a fishing rod business, and on your newsletter in Waukegan, Illinois, don't ask me where that came from, I don't know. You share secret fishing holes to go try out your new fishing rod that you're going to buy from this company. So it's that kind of thing. It's sourced, curated news that is related to your business, but not really about your business that your readers will find helpful or useful.
yeah, and I think this is fun, and I think this would love to hear other people's thoughts. Put it in the comment. What are some things
Mhm,
that you've seen companies do to give some useful tips of either in the area of where they're located, or how to leverage a visit and maybe other things you
mhm,
can do within that
right?
time, or like if you had a perfect day, we've always talked about
Uh-huh.
what's the one perfect day, and maybe your
Mhm.
business is one of those. I pushed the horn button again real quick.
Thank you.
um is one of those uh amazing things to do, and yours is the middle thing, or yours is the end of the day. Or
Mhm,
if you're a winery, like, what are
mhm,
some things that you can do in the area that maybe you start off at your winery, or maybe you end at your winery,
mhm,
and how those fun things can fit in, and then you do
mhm.
the setup, where to go, what to know, what to try, and what to buy, and how that fits into your business, and how maybe if they're visiting or in town, that really helps. So we've seen this really work really well with
Yeah.
a lot of different industries, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as well. But um, definitely, I don't know where Cara got Waukegan, Illinois, or whatever
I
that
don't
was, but
either. I don't either. Never been.
definitely,
Can't say.
definitely fun. And again, for hotels or inns, of all the great things to do in the area while you're staying at their
Mhm,
place, and especially at the
exactly.
more higher end places, the more you can help them enjoy. And
Mhm.
the bigger hotels, they just have those little pamphlet things, and you go in and you
Right,
pick all the
right.
pamphlets and stuff. But you want to have a little
Yeah,
more tailored experience, of course. So,
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
all right, what's
yeah.
next?
And lastly, almost, but not quite, is events, like events and happenings.
Nice.
Yay. And this is pretty obvious, but if your business does events, whether it's a winery and you do parties or really nice dinner parties, if you're a lodging place and you do maybe a yoga retreat, that kind of thing. So any kind of event or activity that you're doing at your business, keep your readers in the know about that, because if they like what you're doing, they're going to want to do more with your business. So just help them know about what's coming up, save the dates, make it easy to sign up for those things. And yeah, I think you'll find that people really start gravitating toward those things.
Right, and again, this is about newsletters, of course, but
Mhm.
events can be ways for people to enjoy, or times that you may have specials going on, or maybe it's a special night where you have music coming in, or maybe it's a bigger event where you're participating in events as
Mhm.
well, and this is where you can
Right.
leverage the social and digital fun synergy. There's other words than that, right?
Mhm.
But that excitement of being part of other events. And we're going to do an episode on this one day about um, promoting and doing digital events, and all the different components of that would be a fun episode, I think.
Mhm.
um,
Super fun.
and one of the things that really is interesting for a brand that are participating in those, as well as the person putting together those events, is that how how you can leverage each other's energy and social and
Mhm.
digital, your emails and other things to really um, bring in more energy, both for your brand and also for your event. And so if you're at the
Mhm.
brand side, and we're
Yeah.
talking about if you're attending an event, a lot of times people might want to see also pictures and things, and that might be a story after the event as well,
Mhm. Right.
of things that you've enjoyed and people you met, and maybe relationships that you've met with some of your new customers, and things like that. So lots of opportunities, both from attending events, having events,
Mhm.
and how to um, do that. And then from a business perspective, how maybe start to think of maybe a broader vision of what events are, right? And have more opportunities to build fun, unique experiences around your um, product and service.
Exactly. Mhm.
What
Yes.
that is up to you, but
Exactly.
um,
Sky's the limit, right? Yes.
yeah.
Indeed.
So we talked about the hook,
Mhm.
and bringing in that initial feel.
Uh-huh.
Then mentioned really about that storytelling. Remember our 5 C's to storytelling episode that we did,
Mhm.
but really get to know and authentic. What was next, Karen?
Context.
Context,
Keeping
right?
it
Then
relevant.
relevant
Yes.
within
Mhm.
what's going on and around.
Right.
Then we went to what's happening.
What's happening? Uh-huh.
Again,
Uh-huh.
there's no real order, but
There's
behind the
yeah,
scenes, and
exactly. Uh-huh.
behind the scenes,
Yeah. Meet the team.
and the special content,
Mhm.
and that unique tidbit of the goodness that you want to do,
Right. Uh-huh.
and then useful tips, those
Yep.
s- news or
News
things
you
that
can
people can enjoy within
mhm.
context of
Right.
um, your brand. And
Mhm.
I don't know if we went to the CTA yet. Let's hit
We
that.
did not. We did
Boom.
not. Call to action is the acronym is CTA, and that's call to action, and that's really helping your readers take the next step to whatever that is, whether it's getting more information about an event or booking a room at your boutique lodge or making a dinner reservation or just the other thing too always is include at the end somewhere just a really warm invitation to connect and send a response. What did you like most in this newsletter? What would you like to read? Let us know your thoughts and really help people take that action and communicate with you. And that I think that goes a long way because if people do have some thoughts, they want to know how to get in touch with you and share their ideas as well.
Yeah, and um, this is also, one of the biggest, a lot of times people put all their calls to action in the whole newsletter, right? And
Hmm.
those sales and all this stuff. But it's really good to put those in there, and again, weave those in there strategically, of course.
Yeah.
But even if you don't have those and you're not sure what to put for the calls to action, like Cara mentioned, is that really having those calls to action. Let's connect. Here's other
Mhm.
places you can visit, be part of our social community. Other places to find us, sign up on our email list, right? Or
Mhm.
forward this email to your friends and family, or,
Right.
be part of our community. And also the last thing I was always, the biggest point of an email newsletter for a business is eventually, how do you um, have transparency and
Mhm.
that connection between the marketing efforts that you have and the business that you're bringing in. And this is the long term vision of building trust, you know,
Mhm.
connecting with your audience, and then saying you already know what value we provide because you signed up for the newsletter, or you're learning through a fresh opportunity, like an opt-in or something, and they're getting to know you. Then this is their chance to buy your service, try it out, your sales, and then really uh, add that component. And then there's that
Mhm.
connection to business and your marketing efforts, right? That's again, don't forget that that's the most important part but again, it's a customer journey where we need to build that relationship with our customers.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well put. Well put.
All right. So I think we
Yeah.
got the whole bit, and even a little extra in there. All
Yes,
right.
indeed.
What's your kind of takeaway
Indeed.
for this? Takeaway for the
Yeah, for
email
me
journey.
for me, it's really about that Anne Handley. I love her to pieces. Her thing about, your newsletters more about the letter than the news. So really keeping that human connection in the forefront as you're creating your content and the sections that you want to be sharing out there, and not to be afraid to be human and show a few, behind the scenes things, and just really, yeah, be you. Be you. And that will resonate with your fans.
Yeah, and I think the really interesting thing, as when you're coming up with ideas or thoughts, is like really just think about those sections. And
Mhm.
um, Cara mentioned earlier on that these are all um, plug and play. And so,
Right.
you are you, and that's why people follow you and want to enjoy your products and services. And that's why
Yeah.
they want to know more about you and your stories and your
Mhm.
behind the scenes and your products as well, and your offers, which is, don't forget about that. I follow lots of people online, and there's some very unique things like digital art and digital copy, and how to use certain things,
Right.
and how when people provide new packs of brushes for your art or things like that, and it's something that you're really interested in, and it's a unique way for you to get more value off of what you're using.
Mhm.
Again, I love that stuff, and especially if it's within context that we're getting to know people. So, or there's something going on that may be connected to that. So,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and our kind of, you know enjoyment of this whole thing, and why we're doing is we want to share, the things that we've learned along the way, as long as also show that, share of what we love to do is, what we do is digital marketing, and our blue
Mhm.
ascension
Yeah.
um, Blue Ascension company, and we're here to do the same thing. And we love to provide value to customers. And if something that you enjoy, and you want either strategy of how to learn about um, provide clarity and strategy of, what your stories you want to tell, and weave more into your branding and long-term content
Mhm.
plans, or you want to uh, get somebody to help write some of these things, and work with you to build these stories into
Mhm.
newsletters. We write those and custom for companies as well. So if you want to get a hold of us, you can you can use our QR code. You can go to um, our uh, Blue Ascension website, or on social. We would love to connect with you and
Mhm.
be part of our, tight knit community as well. So
Yeah,
that's all about email, and let's start the journey together. So,
let's do.
um, any last things you wanted to?
Just that a really nice email newsletter can really set your business apart in your industry. So keep that in mind. Yeah,
Well,
and
we'll
have
see
fun with
you
it.
on soon, and we're excited to um, be sharing the things that we enjoy, as well as we're excited to we're going to be adding some new content to have more recipes for specific industries that we'd love to
Mhm,
work with,
we are.
and that's going to be fun. So definitely be looking for those. We're going to first be focusing on wineries and the wine business, and then we're going to do restaurants and food and
Mhm.
drink, and also the lodging and custom lodging, and really how to really leverage digital to bring you more business and bring in more customers and communities. So more to
Yes,
come.
yes. So with that, be well and keep rocking it.